Jack's eyes darken more and more, but he can't say a word. Lucas and the head of his department exchange signs of their success with smirks. Suddenly, the head of the department is attracted by someone who has come to the restaurant. He shudders in fright and perspires with excitement. Lucas, like all his colleagues, excitedly turned to the door. The guest who came to dinner turns out to be one of the heads of their company. Lucas's colleagues stand up to greet the elder, but he chuckles lightly and asks him to calmly continue his dinner. He stopped by for a moment to see Lucas specifically. Lucas is surprised by this turn of the plot and looks at the boss from under his brow. They sit down at the table and Lucas places the meat on the grill for his boss. The man's colleagues are definitely uncomfortable being at dinner with someone from the boss, but Lucas behaves calmly. Taking a bottle of soju, the boss congratulates Lucas on his investment success. Lucas traditionally puts a glass and gets a drink, after which he thanks the boss. The man laughs that if he knew about Lucas's talents, he would have created an investment department in the company. Although Lucas smiles in the headmaster's face, in his heart he still does not understand the reason for his arrival. Lucas understands that whatever notoriety he has gained through his investments, it is unlikely to attract the attention of the company's top executives. And at this point, the suspicion is confirmed because the director immediately says that Lucas does not understand women, unlike investments. The director considers the breakup with Maria to be Lucas's stupidest mistake, and such a statement makes Lucas clench his teeth. Lucas could not appreciate the rarity of this woman since it was he who proposed a divorce and did not try to understand her. The director mocks that in fact it is Maria who is tired of living with him. However, thanks to Lucas's stupidity, the director was able to become happier. Although Lucas guesses what the reason for his happiness is, he still decides to clarify what he has done for the headmaster. And it turns out that during Lucas's absence, Maria has become close to the director of their company. He came to the restaurant to announce their relationship and convince Lucas to separate personal and work. He tries to praise himself through the humiliation of others, saying that not everyone can be with such a beauty as Maria. But Lucas, interrupting him, loudly and calmly congratulates the man. He takes a bottle of soju and offers to fill the boss with a glass. He says that he is happy for him and Maria as an ex-husband and wishes them long life, but in his thoughts he already condoles with the future life of the chief. When dinner is over, Lucas goes outside to ventilate after an evening filled with alcohol. He does not want to think about Maria, but still remembers that once he was happy with her. They got together and began dating quite quickly after a short flirtation. And after 6 months of dating, they played a traditional wedding. Lucas thinks that he wanted a family so much that he tried to keep Maria's hand in his until the very end. But the reality turned out to be harsh, and after the wedding, a huge difference in his and his wife's characters was revealed. Luke faced constant neglect from his wife's family, and married life turned out to be hell. So in the end, they divorced a year later by mutual consent. And Lucas just wanted to have a good lunch together, to enjoy the good news together. He wanted to feel support from his wife in difficult times. He wanted to be a completely different parent than his father. And now, because of the alcohol, he feels that he has become overly sentimental. Meanwhile, Sue running late through the streets of Seoul to a restaurant for dinner. Each of them is immersed in their own thoughts, and it seems that they are about to meet. But this does not happen. When Sue reaches the restaurant, it turns out that dinner has already ended, and Lucas on his way meets a familiar face framed by blonde hair. Not far from him, Ellie is standing, smiling affably at the man. Lucas brings Ellie home to warm her up because the winters in Korea are colder than she thought. Lucas wonders what brought the American to Korea, but she thinks the answer is obvious. Of course, she had come because she wanted to see Lucas. She was able to get the job she wanted, but she still has about 10 days before it starts, and she decided to spend them in Seoul. She asks to stay with Lucas, who is embarrassed by the fact that he has only one bed at home. But Ellie laughs that they are both used to such conditions. Lucas is embarrassed and excited about their meeting. He didn't expect to see Ellie so soon. The girl shifts awkwardly from foot to foot, afraid of rejection. Sighing, Lucas agrees to keep her with him and offers to take a bath to keep Ellie warm. The girl obeys and goes to the bathroom where she enjoys spending time in the water. At this time, Lucas decides to cook something hot for dinner. He washes and peels vegetables, thinking that he can cook something from Korean home cooking. He hadn't cooked for someone for a long time, but he hadn't lost the memory of how to do it. Lucas decides to cook bulgogi for Ellie, a traditional dish made from slices of meat and vegetables. At one time, Maria despised him for this dish, believing that it was beneath her dignity. And although Lucas was confident in the taste of his cooking, his ex-wife did not care. After sending the food to the stove, Lucas begins to catch not the most pleasant flashbacks. Everything that he cooked for his wife, she disgustingly threw away and poured into the sink. She wanted to eat in rich restaurants, and Lucas couldn't offer it to her, which made him feel hopeless. Now, for the first time in a long time, he sets the table for dinner with a woman. Without letting the man sink deeper into his thoughts, Ellie hurriedly enters the kitchen. Dressed in a bathrobe, she wipes her hair and praises the aroma of the cooked dishes. The girl sits down at the table, assuring that she will gladly eat everything that Lucas has prepared for her. The man gets a little nervous when Ellie carefully tastes the food. She puts a spoon of meat and rice in her mouth and freezes for a moment. Lucas looks at Ellie, barely blinking, trying to read her reaction. But Ellie is delighted. She loudly praises Lucas's culinary talents and even blushes with pleasure. She realized that he served her bulgogi because she tried something similar at a Korean restaurant in the States, but she likes Lucas better. Her reaction, frank and satisfied, makes a man's heart beat faster, and a smile appears on his face. After a hearty dinner, the two of them wash the dishes and clean up the kitchen. After that, they change to bed and go to the bedroom, where they stomp awkwardly by the bed. Finally, they lie face to face, and Ellie, exhausted by the journey, dozes off almost immediately. And Lucas can't fall asleep. He looks at the girl with tenderness and thinks about Ellie's feelings for him. He is afraid to start a difficult relationship, but he cannot help but notice that she is in love with him. His hand involuntarily reaches for her blonde hair. He tucks a strand of hair behind the girl's ear. The fear of letting Ellie come closer is due to the fact that he is afraid that the girl will hurt him if he opens his heart. He thought he was doing well, but the scars from the divorce were deeper than he had imagined. Still, meeting her made him doubt that loneliness was the right way to go. The half-asleep girl moves closer and snuggles up to Lucas. He can't help but gently touch Ellie's forehead with his lips, too absorbed in his thoughts about feelings. At the touch, Ellie almost immediately opens her eyes and they look at each other, embarrassed. Between Ellie and Lucas, everything sparkles with tension. The girl gently touches his chest. Not wanting to push away someone who is looking at him with such warmth, Lucas pulls Ellie closer and presses his lips to hers. He can no longer resist Ellie's charm, and they spend the night together. In the morning, the story takes us to the office and production of the medical company with which Lucas's company cooperates. The director of the company is talking on the phone with partners and is horrified to learn about several broken contracts. It turns out that several contractors have refused to work with this company over the past month. At this time, the phone rings loudly and the CEO grabs the receiver. He is surprised to recognize Lucas's voice on the other end of the line. After a short conversation, they arrange a meeting and Lucas arrives at the office. He had seen the director of this pharmaceutical company when he was still a rookie 3 years ago. The headmaster regrets not taking Lucas for granted as the meeting was scheduled very quickly. Lucas asked not to apologize because it was he who asked for a meeting without prior arrangement. The men wonder who Ellie is, who accompanies Lucas, and Lucas explains that she works alongside him. In the eyes of the employees of a pharmaceutical company, this is a very interesting fact. They wonder what is the reason for Lucas's arrival, and he, a little worried, decides to ask a question. He asked whether the director had any difficulties in managing the company recently. The director confirms this, but notes that Lucas's company still gives them a lot of good orders, and there are many important projects ahead. However, Lucas shares information that another pharmaceutical company is putting pressure on this one. Such awareness of internal corporate issues stunned the men present at the meeting. Lucas goes on to explain that due to the expansion, the company is short of capital, and their competitors are putting pressure on their partners to terminate contracts. Men understand that the ultimate goal of competitors is to take over a weaker company at a lower price. Lucas hastens to reassure the men, saying that he is present at the meeting as a private person and not a representative of his company. He finally declares that he would like to invest his personal funds in the company of the director sitting in front of him. The director of a pharmaceutical company is very surprised that Lucas is engaged in investments. From the very beginning, he was interested in the purpose of his old acquaintance. But despite the fact that he needs money to maintain the company, he refuses Lucas's offer. He is not sure that the company will stay afloat for more than 3 months, and there is a chance that Lucas will not be able to return his investment. He suggests that the thousands or millions that Lucas allocated should be used for another cause. Lucas only sighs heavily in response to his words. Once again, he is underestimated. He pauses for a while, choosing his words, because he wants to hold the intrigue. Men from the company perceive this silence as a negative reaction. But Lucas suddenly asks how much money will help the company get out of the crisis. The director of the company does not expect this. He is still not used to seeing Lucas as more than just a newcomer. Then the man stuns him with the news that he was thinking about billions of dollars in investments. Since Lucas considers the director to be a great businessman and respects his drug company, he wants to support it financially. He invites men to look at the total amount of assets in his account and name any amount they need. Representatives of the company are speechless from shock and can only look at Lucas's phone. They understand the seriousness of Lucas's intentions, who is ready to invest any amount in the company. After this, it is simply impossible to refuse him, and the men prepare the necessary package of documents. Ellie immediately starts researching them, noticing that Lucas has chosen a good investment target. Despite the difficult situation due to construction and loans, the company has high productivity and many customers with long-term contracts. Therefore, when solving the current problems of the company, there is a chance that revenues will grow significantly. The headmaster, listening to the conversation between Ellie and Lucas, which they conducted in English, once again tries to find out what the girl does. Then Lucas already fully represents her as a financial expert working in a large American company. This makes it clear that he was serious from the very beginning. The director finds it hard to believe how the man became such a successful investor in 3 years. They seal the deal and shake hands contentedly. As an additional gift, the director of the company offers him a business card of a representative of a bio company in which it will also be possible to invest. After a business meeting, Lucas and Ellie drive around town in his Ferrari. The girl thanks Lucas for the fact that her first job was an investment estimate of 40 billion won, which is a useful experience. But she immediately begins to laugh at her companion, asking about the payment for her work. Lucas asks what Ellie would like to receive as a reward for her efforts. The girl suddenly smiles insidiously and says that she has an idea. There was something she had long dreamed of doing with Lucas. So very soon, Lucas finds himself handcuffed to a chair in some basement. Blush with delight, Ellie suggests that they have a good time together. It turns out that the girl brought Lucas to the quest room, which she had read about on the internet. She tries to find out if he found the game of escaping from prison fun, and Lucas replies that he didn't mind, but he was confused by the handcuffs. Suddenly, Ellie sighs about how she feels sorry to work so far away from Lucas. In another country, she wishes she could see him every day. Beginning to develop feelings for an American woman, Lucas thinks about buying the company she works for the first time. However, he does not currently have the money that is needed to do so. However, setting up a business in Seoul's commercial district can make all the difference. While he is thinking, Ellie's attention is attracted by an institution. This is a center where you can watch a movie for two and which couples use for dates. Although Lucas is not eager to go to such a place, Ellie is very impressed and wants to spend time with a man. When they go inside, she is very excited about her idea. The beauty of the American woman immediately fascinates the employee of the center. But when he sees a girl of this level with an ordinary-looking Korean, his mood changes. He looks at Lucas almost threateningly, despising him for his success. An employee of the center believes that he looks no worse than Lucas, and this situation is unfair. At this time, Lucas and Ellie choose a movie, and the employee automatically assigns them a room, answering in a friendly way. Then he mentally reproaches himself because he doesn't want to be nice to this couple. Ellie wants to watch a movie that interests her as soon as possible, and Lucas supports the girl. An employee of the center comes up with an insidious plan. He decides to wash the floor in front of their room. Then, if he heard obscene noises from the room, he would be able to break in. Thus, he will disrupt Lucas and Ellie's date and get moral satisfaction. But half an hour later, the floor is already polished to a shine as never before, and obscene sounds are still not heard. Only a movie can be heard from the room. The man looks awkwardly at the door, not understanding how Lucas can just watch a movie alone with such a girl. Lucas and Ellie are sitting on a special bed, hugging, but their attention is really carried away by the film. The film is dedicated to the epidemic that took many lives. The film leaves a heavy impression, and Ellie involuntarily asks the question of how they could live during the epidemic. Lucas replies that there will be numerous casualties and the economy will collapse completely. However, according to Lucas, everything in the film is too exaggerated. After all, there are people who do